Hello, I am Giorgio Solupis. I am a mobile and AI engineer. I'm specialized in on-device AI, and I really like applying artificial intelligence in real-world examples. That said, I decided to do a video series applying AI on the footage of the high-speed cameras and using that to solve some sports cases where I believe that they are really difficult when the human factor comes into play. One of the cases that I'm really interested in is the volleyball block touch because I like volleyball and I think this is one of the difficult case scenarios where the ball travels like really fast when the player like is hitting the ball and the ball travels really fast. There are one, two, or three opponents that are trying to block the ball, and when we have all the setup of the camera, sometimes at the first league there are more than 15 cameras that they are constantly watching on the field, on the players, on the opponents, and the attack zone. So basically, sometimes it's really difficult to understand if the ball touched the opponent arm or the fingers and etc. So I want to see during these experimentations if we can apply AI and help a little bit humans to figure out about the block touch. Let me share the screen and show you some examples of why this block touch sometimes is really difficult to figure out. So I'm sharing the screen. We're going to see some footage and some examples from volleyball matches to understand why sometimes this is really difficult. So one case, this one is, okay, here we have like the player is attacking and the ball goes out. The referee is considering some footage probably or based on what the player says, but sometimes a lot of people are lying, so you cannot depend on what the people are saying. Oh, sorry. Let me share the screen again. Right. So basically, this was a false block touch because you can see here at the footage that the ball did not touch the fingers of the player. So probably here either there is no footage, or there are no cameras, or there is no video check, or someone lied and the referee just decided totally different than what went on. Let's see also another example at the next video here, where the player is doing an attack. No one knows what happened exactly. This camera, just you can see that it doesn't show that the ball touched the fingers because probably this camera is like not a lot of frames per second, and it missed the frame where the ball touched the fingers. And the referee decided differently, but you see here, when you see this from a different angle and a different camera, you see exactly that the ball touched the fingers, you see again. And probably they didn't have a video check, so they ended up deciding wrongly. And the last one is here when you see here again an attack, and they try to the opponent to block it. From this kind of point of view, you see like the z-axis. You don't understand from this axis. You understand, but you see here from the video check and the official review, it's not very clear that the ball touched the arm of the opponent. So the outcome was no touch, but of course, if you see this from a different angle, it was definitely a touch. So I decided to do this because I really like exploring how we can solve these cases with AI. So we are going to talk a little bit at this first video of the video series. We are going to talk about the setup that I am going to use. I have been experimenting for a few days, and now we are going to show what I decided to buy and help me to build all this setup. First of all, one of the critical components of this setup is the camera that we are going to use. As we saw at the previous example, sometimes the camera does not have a lot of frames per second. So basically, you miss the frame when something happened. And if you just don't get the frame that the ball touched the arm or the hand, or you missed the way that it touched and the rotation altered, or you missed where the trajectory made differently, then you cannot decide what happened. So one of the critical factors is the camera. After some search, I decided to go with a very specialized camera that comes from the Basler manufacturer. For this proof of concept, one of the critical factors was also the cost. So basically, we are trying to figure out the value for money for this case. And this case requires a lot of frames per second, at least for the high resolution. And if we go with the region of interest later, then we can expand the frames per second, like more than 200, or we can reach like 300 based on what our case will be. So basically, let's talk about the specification that these cameras need to have to help us with this case scenario. One of the things that first of all, I had to think was, if I am going to apply this inside a room, that the net is like too close to the laptop or the module that we are going to use, like a Linux module, or it will be out at the field. So basically, we can have this a proof of concept like indoors, but then we have to apply it to the field, like at volleyball court. So basically, if we wanted to use a camera with a USB, then it will be impossible to use like 100 meters cable for the USB connection. And that is why I decided to go with the LAN connection of the camera. So basically, these cameras below has some inputs. One of the input is the Basler input called the Hiroshi cable, and the other one is the LAN cable. So I decided to do that because sometimes you can extend it like more than 10 meters. You can reach like 100 meters, and you can transfer the data, or you can transfer also the power, and you can power the camera, because the modules that you are going to use, they don't have such power like to power this camera like at the 100-meter range. One other critical thing that I had to decide is if the camera was going to be like color camera or monochrome camera, because like the volleyballs this era, it is like with a lot of color, like green, blue. And if you remember around 20 years ago, it was like only white, but now you have like color. And sometimes the colors of the volleyball is not like the same every time. It's like maybe you can see also white, or you can see at the beach volleyball, it's like too many colors, like orange and etc. So basically, I decided to go with the monochrome for a lot of reasons, because when you have the camera and you have the sensor, on top of the sensor is like the Bayer filter. You can see here some explanation of the Bayer filter. So basically, it was invented like 50 years ago on top of the sensor that gets the information about the photons that are hitting the sensor. It's like the Bayer filter when it lets the, let me show you this one. So basically, it's the Bayer filter. It consists of different colors, and that based on the color, it lets specific color comes inside and hit the pixels of the sensor. After this, we get the democycling, and then after some mathematical operations like interpolation and etc., based on the manufacturer, then you get the perception of the color. But this Bayer filter cuts a lot of light. That stops a lot of light to come into the camera. So this will be a little bit difficult when you're going to do an experiment at an indoor field. You don't have a lot of light, so this one will eventually make you use a lot of gain, a lot of ISO. So basically, you will have a lot of noise at the final image that you are going to take. So basically, also using a monochrome is like getting 1/3 of the data that you could get with a color camera, and that is also really great because it is really demanding to have like 3 times the data when you want to do proof of concept on a small module like the NVIDIA Jetson Orin Nano that I'm using here. So using 1/3 of the data, it will be also really fast when you want to apply AI on these images. Let's get back to the camera and explain also other critical factors. Also, as we said, the ball is like when you have like this block touch and the player is hitting the ball, then the ball is traveling like more than 100 kilometers per hour. Sometimes it's like 120, 130. So basically, if you have a normal camera, then usually the normal cameras have a rolling shutter, and they get the data from the top to bottom. It's like rolling, and that's why when you see in the footage of a high-speed camera, high-speed ball traveling, then the ball looks oval, looks stretchy, and it's blurry. So basically, to get all this information and see the ball as round as possible, then you have to go with the global shutter. When it's like the shutter just opens and closes and takes immediately all the information. And if you go more than 200 frames per second, you see the ball like perfectly round at very high speeds. That is a really cool feature of a camera, but that comes with a cost, right? And sometimes these cameras cost more than 400 euros. Sometimes if you go with a bigger resolution or you go with high-end cameras, it costs like 4 figures. For this proof of concept, we decided to go with the Basler ACA 130075 GM monochrome. It has for the full resolution 88 frames per second. It has a LAN connection, and of course the sensor is like half-inch. It's pretty good for our proof of concept, and it's not very small, not very large, and this one will capture a lot of information, giving you a high resolution of 1280 by 1080 with this frames per second. And if we go for the region, to pick the region of information, then we will get more than 240 frames per second. So basically, this was the most important factors here for the camera. Well, one of the things that I want to say also is usually they are CMOs. They stand for complementary metal oxide semiconductors. It's like the successor of the CCD's cameras, but usually like 99% of the cameras right now are using CMOs sensors. So basically, it's the way to go. And this one also has a really great Python 13.0. That's what Basler is calling this sensor. And the resolution is 1.3 megapixels, which is really great for our use case scenario. So basically, this is the camera. If you see here, I decided to, of course, to buy it and start experimenting with this. And the other critical component is like the lens that comes and it's going on top of the sensor. And of course, remember to never touch the sensor in front, because you will get a lot of trouble if you try to just clean it. So basically, from the time that you are buying it and you just open it, you just go and put the lens on top and don't have any debris on top of the sensor. So the other critical component, of course, as we said, is the lens. This was something that I had to think about a lot. First of all, one of the characteristics was the C-mount. It's like it goes directly on top of the Basler camera, and it perfectly screws on top of that. So basically, you don't have to pay a lot of attention to just screw it, and you are good to go. One other thing that you have to see is like the sensor format. You have to go with the 2/3. So basically, it's like bigger than the camera sensor, right? And why is that? Because mathematically, we are trying to match the optical physics of the lens with the electrical physics of the sensor. So basically, with the lens is like really, really sharp at the dead center. So basically, when you have a bigger lens over a smaller sensor, then typically when we get the image, you have very sharp images at the edges of the sensor. So basically, bigger lens, smaller sensor, you have perfectly shaped images everywhere at the sensor, at the center or at the edges of the sensor. One other thing that you have to see, because we decided to do this experiment inside the an indoor field with not a lot of light, it's like the exposure, is the aperture. Like if you see here, it's like f 1.4. Usually you will find lens with f 1.8, but you have to check for f 1.4 at least for this indoor experimentation. And if you see this here, it has like a small screw. You can just unscrew it and you can place it like 1.4, 1.8, and etc. Based if you want to do the experiment indoors or outdoors, depend on the light, because the difference between the 1.4 and 1.8 is like 60% more light comes in. So for indoors, we have to go with the f 1.4, and we are going to be like pretty sure we are going to have a lot of details, and we definitely don't want to go and use ISO or gain when we are going to see the characteristics of the camera, the electronic characteristics, the digital, in the next video. So basically, if you just put the ISO on 0, you just have like very, very, very nice information and not a lot of noise. And at least for the start, I decided to go with the M12, where I wanted to shoot some videos that at around 6 meters far away from the camera. Because sometimes it's really difficult to go to a field and just shoot the videos from like 25 meters away. Sometimes for the beginning of the proof of concept, you have to be like somewhere inside an office and etc. So it's really easy to just uh, turn the focus and focus like a net or something like hands and the ball at around 4 to 10 meters, like 5 to 10 meters, and then you have pretty sharp images. So basically, I decided to do that, and when I have all the pipeline and know exactly how this will work programmatically, then I will go to buy also the M16 or even the M25 when you go to the field and you want to shoot the block tags from 25 meters away. So I just bought the Computar M1214, and also I saw that this one is the MP2, not this one, just another. So it was the M12, but it was the MP2. So basically, it's like 2 megapixels on top of the 1.3 megapixels of the sensor. So basically, this will give us very sharp images indoors with not a lot of light. Yeah, it is like C-mount, and on top of this, if you see here, it has also a thread. The thread is like M30 by 0.5, and this is really great to know because in the future you want to apply some filters on top of that. Let's say if sorry, if the volleyball is like yellow and blue, and if you apply like a blue filter and you have a very good light, then this ball will look like black and totally white because the color is going in, but this color is not going in. So this will be like black or a really dark gray, and this will be like white. But this is something that we are going to experiment in the future. Another component is like the power over air Ethernet. As we said, let's see also that. Okay, so basically, you see here like a power over Ethernet. As we said, when we connect the LAN on the module, and on the other side we have the camera, it doesn't have a lot of power to power up the camera. So basically, we need something like a middleman that it will give power to the camera, but of course, the data go from the camera to the model really easy and with a lot of high speed. So basically, we need this as a middleman when we at least have one camera. And then when we scale up like 2, 4, 6, or 8 cameras, and we have the setup on the laptop and all the scripts and etc. On the laptop, then we can scale up with bigger power over Ethernet and connect a lot of cameras on top of that, but we can experiment that in the future. And the last module that we have is this one that I had inside home. It's a really great module. It's an NVIDIA Jetson Orin Nano. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM. We're going to use a VLM probably for the final decision if the ball touched the arms of the opponent or not. So these sometimes are kind of large, but I think the 8 gigabytes of RAM, we can find some vision language models that they can fit on top of that, and they will be really fast. Sometimes you can find really great videos with some fine tuning. Sorry, we can find small vision language model with some fine tuning. You can have very fast decision about the outcome, and I think this is going to be really great. And as I said, it's like a proof of concept. If all of this pipeline works like in like 20 seconds, it will be really, really great, because if you think about it, when you scale up, when you have a very good laptop and very good GPU, and you're gonna have like more cameras, and then of course the 20 seconds will be like a smaller amount of time to decide about the plot tags or not. Yeah, so the idea is like I said, let's go back and check again. We saw some videos where it's really difficult if you don't have a lot of cameras, or the human factor comes in and you have issues with the outcome, the decision, or when the camera is not exactly looking at the correct angle at the volleyball touch. So we need to explore if this can be solved with AI and help people at the video check to have something like an estimation about what happened at this time. We talked about the camera that we are going to use for this proof of concept. We need something like to be like value for money, and we need the ball to look sharp and not look stretchy oval at the very high speeds that comes with the volleyball attack. The sensor has to be a specific size, so we get all the details. With applying some region of interest, then from the more than 80 frames per second, we can go to more than 240 frames per second. Of course, we talked about the monochrome and why we save some data for the processing later, and also we are getting processing. We are saving some processing power with not having to do like some demosyking and interpolation and etc. And of course, we don't have the Bayer filter where we needed to have a lot of light inside an indoor field. We talked a little bit about the Bayer filter, where is the top of the cameras, and why we have to get rid of that and go with a monochrome camera to just have a better outcome. We talked about the lens, when this has to be like bigger on top of a smaller sensor, so we get all the details at the edge of the image. The camera needs to be powered for the proof of concept. And of course, all of this experimentation will be like on the Jetson Orin Nano. I will try to do also the fine tuning offline. If this is not possible, then I will do it online. But if it's possible, then I have to do it. I will do it offline. So we have an example how we are going to save processing power, because nowadays the processing and the fine-tuning and all the AI that goes on the cloud, you need a lot of money to pay for that. And I'm really excited. This is the first video. In the next video, we are going to talk about after the setup, how we power up the camera, and we have the first footage, and we are going to be sure how we are going to have the specific setup and the settings to save the settings, and then when we power up again the module, then we are going to have the same settings and continue from when we left off. I really love this camera, and I'm going to apply it to the volleyball block tag system. Take care until the next video.